Hey guys, hope everyone's doing really well today or tonight. I want to make a quick video on minimalism and why and how it's been able to change my life. Long story short, I've been super, um, I guess, consumerist in a way where I'm, buying things I probably don't need. I'm spending money frivolously. I just didn't really have a simple life where I was able to, for example, pick out the same kind of clothes every day, or have systems in place to streamline operations in my life. But I've been able to implement those things through minimalism, not so much being a cheapskate, but kind of just being a little bit more intentional with how I spend my money and my time. So let's get into it. So a little bit of background on what minimalism is, just because it gets confused quite often. But it's about simplifying the things in life by removing everything apart from the things that really matter to you. Now, for example, you might think, oh, this pair of shoes is really important, or this type of clothing is really important, or maybe a new car is really important. But the reality is, we live day to day without, you know, requiring a lot of the things we have. It is nice to have some new clothes. It's nice to have a new iPhone, but could you also get by with some older clothes or some more simple clothes, or maybe an older iPhone, or even some people are doing with the flip phone? Yeah, you probably can. And the only reason I say that is because it's being done by these people. Now, minimalism generally means you're living with less things, um, but this also means fewer low quality possessions and things that distract you. So, when I say less, I don't mean you're going without. What I mean is you're having less of the low quality things in your life that aren't necessarily needed, and you're keeping more of the things that are actually required, things that you truly need to live a good life. Now, those things or activities that you do keep are high quality and do have a purpose in your life. So, for example, maybe for example, those things in your life or activities that you do keep are high quality and they do have a purpose in your life. So that could be things like, obviously, having a phone, having a laptop, maybe having a journal that you can record your thoughts and feelings in. That's something really high quality. But this could also apply to, for example, clothing. Making sure you're not buying clothes just because it's the hot new thing or it's really interesting at the time. You're buying things because it's practical and will help you streamline your life. And obviously, that ROI will come back through other means rather than just through looking good. Another example of something that um, is an activity in your life, it could be, for example, walking every day for 10,000 steps, or running around the block a couple of times rather than having a gym membership. Now, a gym membership might be great because it gives you access to all the machines, showers, um, water, etc. But for some people, that's too much, and it's also costly, especially if you're someone that all you want to do is walk, or you want to run around the block to keep your weight down. Other people will really require weights, and instead that having a gym membership might be better than buying a whole at-home gym, because you're buying things that, or sorry, you're putting money towards something that, when it's required, you use it, and if it's not required, you don't use it. Whereas a gym at home might kind of, mentally be a lot for you, and it's better to just separate the two and then keep home for work, and then the gym can be for the gym. But this doesn't apply to everyone. I personally have a home gym and it works okay for me, but other people feel like it wouldn't, so they don't have to. Now, minimalism seems really weird in a consumerist culture. Everyone around us is buying. Boxing Day sales are going crazy. People are waiting 3 to 4 hours in line just to buy things. Online sales are really popular right now. So it will seem really weird to those around you that you're not following them in being consumerist. But personally, I found it very freeing and also more fulfilling to my life. Right, it's meant that I don't have to worry about a lot of the little things. It just means I've been able to be a little bit more intentional with what I choose to interact with, and can leave out a lot of the BS that people put up with. Even something like a car. I mean, I don't personally have a car, and you could look at that and you know say, "Oh, he's poor. He doesn't have a car. He's a bit of a loser." But for me personally, once I've done an audit of my life, the reality is I go to work, I train in the gym, I might go out with some friends on the weekend using something like Uber, or I might go to the library and take public transport. For me personally, there's no real requirement to have a car, and for the most part, it'd just be sitting there and collecting dust. So that works well for me. Now, what can you do to implement minimalism in your own life? Now, the first thing I did was audit my life. So, what I'd do is I'd look at my physical spaces around me, for example, my bedroom, my workplace, kitchen, house, even car. See what's around you, see what you really don't need. Your phone is another example of somewhere that you can kind of cut down, and without really spending any money, it doesn't really cost anything. You can always re download things, but being a little bit more intentional rather than having the 10 pages worth of apps, or potentially even going to a flip phone or something that will keep you off your phone if you feel like the social media is really taking a lot of your life away. That would be a minimalist approach. Stripping it down to the bare necessity, which would be just to call people and text people. That will also be a form of minimalism. Relationships as well. I think a lot of people, they have this requirement that they need to be liked by everyone and be friends with everyone. And the reality is that could take a lot from them and be super exhausting. Now, a minimalist approach to relationships would be having, say, a couple friends or even one friend. I know some people have no friends, but I don't think that that's the best idea ever. But having a select few friends, true friends, that you keep around you, because you actually vibe with them, you find them very interesting, and they're genuine friends. And finances, for example, yeah, that could just be spending less. Maybe if you are spending, maybe spending it on the options that don't cost as much, maybe purchasing used, just being a little bit more intentional with how you spend money. Now, once you've audited your life, right, you might want to start with organizing and reducing one particular area in your life, right? Now, an easy one that a lot of people can do today is actually just reduce the unused apps on your phone. Now, I know for Apple at least, they automatically remove apps that you're not using regularly. But even those apps that you do use regularly, but you don't want to be using regularly because it's taking away from your life, maybe have a look at deleting those. You could go the approach of, for example, grayscale. You could take the approach of, removing everything on your home screen apart from the apps you want or you need, and maybe have a screen timer there. I've actually made a video on this as well. So if you wanted to learn more about how I was able to cut down my screen time by 90%, have a look at that video. Now, when you implement or when you become minimalist, you don't need everything, right? That's like a key foundational like thinking that you need to understand or be across. And for me personally, if you look around your room, if you look around, if your finances, relationships, if you haven't actually used it or spoken with someone, or it doesn't really bring you any happiness or joy or anything, right? Or if it does and you're not using it and it just can be rebought, I think you can remove it. I think the freeing kind of feeling of just not having anything, I think is worth being able to rebuy things when required. Now, obviously, this doesn't apply to everything. You can't just buy rebuy cars, for example, or phones. But there are some small things like, for example, tools, right? A lot of people will buy tools for a certain project, and then they'll finish that project and then they won't ever use the tools again. Something like that, you could either have rented or you can get rid of them, sell them on Facebook, or whatever your local um, platform is, and then rebuy them in the future when you actually need them. Now, when you do implement minimalism as well, another note to keep in mind is that this is a gradual process. Sorry, it's a gradual process that won't happen overnight. This is something that will happen. It won't happen overnight, and when you do audit, I think you'd be surprised at what you actually need and what you don't need, because most people have things around them that they think they need, but they really don't, and they would live their life just the same without that thing in their life. Now, a couple of examples of minimalism in real life would be, for example, Steve Jobs wearing the turtleneck all the time, or Mark Zuckerberg wearing the t-shirt all the time. Now, these aren't per se cheap clothes, right? They're expensive clothes, but they give the vibe of simple and minimalist, because there's not really much thinking required. They put on the same t-shirt every day, same pants every day, the same shoes. They don't need to think twice about it, right? And for them, that means that they're able to eliminate decisions and put those decisions back into their business, because the reality is, who cares what you wear? Now, to a lot of people, you know, they do care, especially if you're in the fashion industry. You're going to say that's crazy that no one cares, but it depends on what your goals are. And as someone who is becoming minimalist and wants to invest their time into their business or back into their life, you might look at fashion or clothing and just say, I want it simple. And that's what I've done as well personally. Now, another example that not many people will think about is Tim Ferriss's 4-hour work week. So this is actually, believe it or not, it's a minimalist approach to time management, work and lifestyle. Now, obviously most people work 38 to 40-hour weeks. Some people work up into the 80, 100 hours a week, especially if you're in the corporate world. But what that book, The 4-Hour Work Week, explained was that you're able to do what you need to do within 4 hours. When you implement a team, when you implement smarter working, deep work, all these things that can kind of optimize your time available, and essentially condense it 90% into only 4 hours. Now, is that practical for everyone? Probably not, but do people do it once they take that minimalist approach and really be intentional with how they structure their work week? Yeah, it is possible. I personally couldn't work 4 hours because I'd get a little bit bored, but I think it's a really cool concept nonetheless. And I alluded to this earlier, but I personally have a simple schedule of clothes. I have one of each item I need. So, for example, for books, I might have one Kindle that has 100 books on it. For clothes, I might just have a simple set of t-shirts and maybe some jeans or pants and a couple pairs of shoes. And this is true. I don't have that many clothes. I will recycle clothes or you know sell them or whatever if I end up losing weight or if I end up gaining weight, but for the most part, it stays pretty much the same. Another example of minimalism that I personally use that not many people, again, would think about is integrating themselves in the Apple ecosystem. So, for example, if you're someone who is busy and has lots of different things going on, and you're in the corporate world, for example, you're using headphones all the time. You need an Apple Watch because you need to answer emails. You need a laptop for work. You need a phone to call people. Something like the Apple ecosystem will just throw everything together and make it super easy for you. So you don't really need to do too much thinking yourself. It's all done for you. And yes, there's a price to pay for that, and a lot of people don't like Apple, and that's fine. But this is an example of being a minimalist and just making your life more simple and just being a little bit more intentional with it. And we're lucky enough that we have something like the Apple ecosystem to do that for us, just because it works so well together. If you have your AirPods in and you start playing music on your laptop or your phone or your iPad, it'll just move to that. Your Apple Watch tracks everything and sends it to your devices. It's just very smart and very streamlined. Now, I'll end on this, right? Minimalism, like you've kind of seen through these examples, it really can apply to anything and everything, right? It's just whatever you want to be more intentional in and whatever you feel like you need to focus on. So for me, that might be, my wealth, my health or fitness. It might just be my mental peace, just being happy and just being, enjoying life. And these are the kind of things that, for example, wearing the same clothes, having a Kindle for my books, implementing the Apple ecosystem. These are things that work for me, and not having a car, for example. These are things that work for me and make sure that I can be more intentional and live a really good life. So hopefully you guys have found some value in this video. You might be, also interested in minimalism, or you might already be doing minimalism, or you're becoming a minimalist. It's definitely worthwhile, and it doesn't have to last forever. But if you feel you want to be more intentional and more deliberate with how you live life, I think it's something you kind of have to do, or definitely look into. So if you guys have any questions, let me know down below. But otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.